All right, welcome in Inside Golf Podcast, Black Desert Resort and Championship betting and DFS preview. We are recording this at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. I have a golf event I have to attend later this afternoon, but I'm pretty fired up to talk about this event. It's just a field of like all of my favorite guys to lose money on. Like Thor and Kitayama are probably going to be the favorites. And then you have Rico H playing well. Billy Katz might peep his head out. Carson Young, absolutely a bet for me this week. Douglas Gim, Joseph McCarthy in the Red Scare, shooting 59 or excuse me, 60. He had a putt for 59 in his last round, the final round of the Bay Current, and he's the defending champion as well. Home game for Patty Fish. It's just a very ISN coded golf event, like really just one for the sickos. And I would imagine if I'm doing a podcast in the fall swing, only the sickos are listening to it anyway. So I don't really have many more updates on my end. Had a nice little off week from the PGA Tour last week where I got to just focus on a bunch of changes for the company in 2026. Hired 3 new people in the past couple of weeks. So a lot of exciting stuff going on over there. We'll have a new show debuting this week with a new co-host. I'm super excited about that we're going to try out a little bit during the fall swing, but we'll have kind of a bigger launch in 2026 in January when more people start caring about golf again. So if you want a ton of extra fall swing content and a really fun community, head on over to InsideSportsNetwork.com. Huge shout out to my guy Kyle, by the way, for hitting Kita Nakajima early this morning on the DP World Tour, and all the other Discord members that were on him. Kyle is playing a great golf course today. Kyle and Brian and my 2 best friends from high school and college are all playing golf today without me on the East Coast. These are the real times where I really hate LA, because all of my best friends still live in New York. But I'm wearing my Stanny shirt as a sign of solidarity. So yeah, I don't have anything else. Let's just dive right into the Black D. Okay. So this event is now called the Bank of Utah Championship, known last year as the Black Desert Championship. It is only in its second renewal. And I must say, for a fall swing sicko like myself, remember this is all relative, I would say this has been a really welcome addition to the fall swing. Despite the new sponsor and name change, the event is going to return to the Black Desert Resort, which was designed by Tom Weiskopf and Phil Smith in 2022, 2023. The course basically just opened. And this was Weiskopf's final design before he passed away. And the track sits amongst one of the more unique settings for professional golf that we'll get to watch on the PGA Tour. So if you have the time to watch some golf this weekend, I'd imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you're at least marginally interested. It's a pretty good watch. I can nitpick the architecture of the golf course till I'm blue in the face. I'm not like the biggest fan of Weiskopf's design philosophy, but it's pretty difficult to find any real qualms with like the concept of bringing an event to this part of the country. The course is in the middle of a lava field. There's all sorts of wildlife, and it creates this interesting juxtaposition where if players miss a fairway, now the fairways are massive here, but if a player misses a fairway, they're basically automatically receiving a penalty stroke. The lava is not very playable. Just ask Thor, who I believe hurt himself last year trying to play a ball out of the lava rock. Okay. And that is a defining feature of this golf course. The golf course will also be affected by altitude, but it's It's less extreme than like Denver, for example. It's in Ivins, Utah, which is 3,000 feet above sea level. For context, Denver is 5,000 feet. Las Vegas and Scottsdale, for example, two other destinations that have hosted a lot of professional golf tournaments, are both in the 2,000 range. So we're going to expect a 4% distance bump. And so the golf course, it's important to note the golf course that measures 7,400 yards really measures more like 7,100 yards, right? And as one would expect, last year, the scoring was easy. The sixth easiest golf course on the PGA Tour. Matt McCarthy won at 23 under par over Stefan Jaeger. Scoring average of 1.97 under par. McCarthy was 45-1. And as I mentioned, it's a par 71 with 007 XL bent grass greens measuring 7,000 square feet and running 12 on the stimp. Pretty good greens, fast, some undulation, large, very high greens and regulation percentage here. The fairways, Dominator bent grass measuring 49 yards wide, massively wide fairways. So you get this really interesting juxtaposition that's unique on the PGA Tour. Not a lot of golf courses are like this, but the driving corridors are insanely wide. But if you happen to miss, you're screwed. So you're basically playing, you're basically having to, it's tricky because it emphasizes distance, right? But if you pick a lot of players that are super long, hit the ball super long, their dispersion pattern also increases. So you have to hope that they keep the ball in play and avoid the big, massive miss, which guys like Stefan Jaeger and Matty Schmidt were able to do with ease last year, finding their way onto the first page of the leaderboard. Both guys with a lot of distance that are typically prone to the wild one off the tee. These fairways are so large, it was totally fine for them. And Kentucky bluegrass rough, not much of a factor on this golf course at all. There's like a very thin lining of rough on the fairway, set against the fairways. And then if you miss a little bit bigger than the rough, you're going to end up in the lava. So a little bit more about the golf course. And then there's so many players, like my card is nearly full. There's just a lot of guys. I had a lot of time this weekend to really dive in to my pre-tournament research that I don't often always get done before this Sunday podcast, but I have a solid number of guys I'm pretty interested in betting, but a little bit more first on the golf course to kind of outline what I think you really want to be looking for this week. So while the setting of the Black Desert Resort is pretty unique and singular, the architecture of the golf course is very straightforward, very much resort coded, very much all in front of you. There's not a lot of crazy dog legs or blind shots or anything like that, or quirk. In terms of how it's going to test pros, like I mentioned, it played as one of the 6 easiest golf courses on the PGA Tour last year. The conditions were and will likely continue to be soft because basically all resort golf courses that play as a resort course for 99% of the year, the conditioning of those golf courses, they just keep them soft for resort guests. It's very difficult when you have a bunch of resort folks playing the golf course, 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior to the tournament to really get the golf course to firm up the way I would love to see it be firmed up. So I would imagine it's going to be soft again. Looks like the weather's going to be really great. And the only massive defense of this golf course, well, kind of the greens. The greens are pretty challenging, but the real massive defense of this golf course is the desert lava. And that's the same if we were talking about Summit Club or even TPC Scottsdale, any of these Arizona, Vegas, desert golf courses. Very, very much reminds me of like a lot of golf courses in Arizona where, you know, the fairways are generally pretty wide, but if you happen to miss big, you are totally boned, like 100% taking a penalty stroke, right? Now, that would maybe lead you to think, oh, this is a heavy, heavy accuracy golf course. And I would not say that's the case at all because the fairways themselves are just so wide. They're 50 yards wide. They are 15 to 20 yards wider than the average golf course on the PGA Tour that players face all year. So you have an 85% driving accuracy percentage. So really, the deal at this golf course is I'm barely favoring any accuracy at all. I'm looking at like one distance to the edge of the fairway metric on very wide golf courses to really try and hone in on the types of players that have a lot of power, but are prone to the big, big, massive miss, since that's the only way. Like you can miss little, you can miss moderately, you can miss kind of big, and you're still going to be okay. You just can't send the ball off the freaking planet. And when you have a golf course where everybody's hitting the fairway, like 85% of the field are hitting the fairway, it's going to end up the way that you have to separate on these types of golf courses if everybody is hitting the fairway. And it's hard to separate off the tee because not that many people are missing the law, are hitting it in the lava anyway. You're getting a very small percentage of players that are eliminating themselves with giant, giant misses, and all the other misses are okay. The emphasis is going to fall far more squarely where you're going to be able to separate yourself is with your approach, play, and putting. And, you know, the roadmap to give yourself easier approaches is obviously hitting the ball longer, right? So Matt McCarthy mainly got it done with his driver and putter, but against top 10 and top 20 finishers, it was really more of a standard breakdown between off the tee, approach, and putting. Short game barely played a role here at all, given the easy greenside surrounds and a 75% greens in regulation percentage. I would not value or pay too much attention to short game at all. Shout out Thor, shout out Carson Young. I think this is a great spot for both of them. And while it's not fully a putting contest, putting was the main reason why Matt McCarty won. You know, but for a golf course that's so easy, putting barely rated ahead of approach for top 5 finishers and was fairly dead even for top 10 and top 20 finishers. So you see where I'm going with this, where I'm starting to build a case for this golf course is really going to end up being a lot more about approach, middle iron play specifically, and putting is where you can truly, truly separate yourself. And it's also really important to remember that we only have a year of data as well. So I would not completely overreact to last year's data and definitively say that because the golf course played this way last year, it's going to play the exact same way in 2026 in terms of the roadmap that players took to finishing highly at this event. I'm still baking in a lot of my big picture thoughts on the architecture of the golf course, as well as the data that we have from last year into my breakdown. Whenever we have a golf course with super wide fairways that is at least medium length, distance is going to be at least helpful. Obviously, as I mentioned, beware of the bombers that absolutely spray the ball like crazy, as that's the only way to incur penalty strokes. Yet in theory, when we have a golf course where 85% of the field's hitting the fairway, very difficult to separate on off the tee alone. I really believe that while distance is helpful, the true key to this golf course is middle iron play and putting. Close to 45% of all approach shots last year came from 150 to 200 yards, with another 26.7 coming from 200 yards plus. So it's really that key range of 150 to 200 yards that we're going to want to focus on, as well as putting. And interestingly enough, putting was the most difficult area to gain strokes to the field last year. These greens run extremely true, but they absolutely rip. They're fast. There's some undulation. So I really do believe that, it's distance is helpful, but it's middle iron play and putting that I think are really going to be the two biggest separating factors going forward in terms of the ability to finish highly and win this event. I'm going to be looking at a number of driving statistics at low weights to set the parameters for the player's best position to succeed off the tee here. But the real money will be made with elite approach play and putting. Okay, let's take a quick break. And then I am going to run through the top 20 in my model and talk about a bunch of early leans because I think there's a ton of interesting players to talk about here. Okay, so number one, Kurt Kitayama. Do I think that Kurt Kitayama is the best player in this field? Probably not. I think Thor has the most long-term upside and talent in this field. But Kitayama, we were there for the 3M victory. He's sustained some really, really phenomenal ball striking, and he played really, really well. He hit the ball really, really well last year and putted terribly, but he gained like almost 10 strokes on approach last year. I'm not going to bet Kurt this week. I think he's going to be 25-1, maybe even lower. Number two, Rico H. Come on. Now you see why I love this event. Rico H playing some phenomenal golf right now. Just finished fourth at the Bay Current, made a ton of birdies. Was a great DraftKings option for us that week, and he's hitting the ball insanely well. Might be the best middle iron player in this entire field right now. The putter, obviously a huge problem, but he's still in this field. When you filter out for easy golf courses, Rico ranks third. So it's not like the guy can't make a ton of birdies. He has been, his ball striking has become so good that if you can find a way to get even neutral as a putter, he can start mixing and winning these golf tournaments. I mean, he's fully past the point now where his ball striking is good enough to contend and almost win golf tournaments. While like he finished fourth at the Bay Current, losing 2 strokes putting. Okay. 9th at the Pro Core. So he's gained over a stroke on approach in 7 straight starts. I mean, he's just flushing at a very high rate right now. Carson Young, number 3, another bet for me. I'm betting 2, 3, and 4 in this model. Carson Young, Rico H, and Doug Gim. None of them can really putt all that well, but their ball striking has just, I think, become so solid and so consistent that they're going to put themselves in position time and again with their middle iron play on this golf course. All three of those guys are 3 of maybe the best 10 middle iron players in this entire field. And there's been at least some, particularly with Carson, I think has the best putting upside of any of these players. But Carson Young, friend of the pod, one of the PGA Tour players I actually know and talk to. There's not many of them. This is a perfect spot for him. He loves wide open resort golf courses. He finished 11th at the Black Desert last year, where he gained significantly off the tee and with the putter. He is driving the ball great. You never have to worry about him hitting the ball off the planet. Like, he is actually a lot more accurate than he is long, which is interesting because he still plays so well on these distance heavy resort courses, like 11th at the Black Desert last year. And he also has 3 top 15 finishes in 6 appearances at either Vidanta Vallarta and Byron Nelson, 2 of my favorite comp courses. And he's coming off a 38th at the Sanderson Farms where he gained over 6 strokes on approach and gained 2.5 putting. That's the formula, right? If you can get to 8 strokes combined gained on the field between approach, play, and putting, Carson's going to be right in the mix. Like, is a confident guy. I think he's more than good enough, more than talented to win. He's now had enough experiences in contention before in PGA Tour events. Like, he almost won, actually another one of my favorite comp courses for this event. He almost won at El Cardinal last year, which is right before when I had him on the podcast. Yeah, he finished second at the Worldwide Technology Championship, the event that we have next week, I believe. And he's gained over 3.5 strokes on approach in his last 2 starts. I just think it's a slam dunk play. I think he'll be hopefully well over maybe 100 to 1. I don't know. It's a bad field. It's really hard for me to get a true sense on what the prices of like the poor players will be compared to the players at the top. But I think you're going to get a pretty good number on Carson Young. I'll be looking to attack that one as soon as odds come out on Sunday night / Monday morning. Doug Gim, I can't say I like quite as much as Carson because I've been on Doug Gim a ton, and I don't trust his putter half as much as I trust Carson's. And the middle iron play and the approach play and the driving has been so good with him. And again, even with such a bulky putter, he still ranks top 25 in easy scoring conditions, 16th in the fall swing, 27th on resort courses, and finished 25th at the Black Desert last year, where he gained significantly on approach. Has an 8th at Vidanta Vallarta before as well, another top 20 at TPC Craig Ranch. So, I think those are all great plays. Those 3 guys are going to, those are 3 of my favorite plays that will be on my betting card is Carson Young, Rico H, Doug Gim. Running through the rest of the top 20, 5 Patrick Rogers, 6 Mark Hubbard, 7 Alex Smalley. I love Alex Smalley again, coming off a strong performance at the Bay Current. Did crush us at Sanderson Farms. So Smalley is a real motherfucker. Like, you'll feel really good about him. And he, of like all my guys, I still think the most prone, he almost finished DFL at Sanderson Farms. I still think the most prone to out of left field, even if he has great numbers coming in, to really, really screw you is Alex Smalley. And I never learned, so I'll be going right back this week. But Alex Smalley, Michael Thorbjornsen, I bet him the last 2 weeks. He mixed very hard at Bay Current. Unfortunately, I think he might be the tournament favorite. Maybe Alex Noren. I think he might be the tournament favorite. And I don't know if I'm willing to bet. It would be cataclysmic for me if he won this event, and it is a great golf course for him. He hit the ball so freaking well at the Bay Current, but it's going to be number dependent for me whether I get on Thor. As Brian says, last week may have been the spot. I'm not sure I totally agree with that because I think he's that good. And I do think he's going to win very soon. It's just going to be number dependent for me. Kevin Roy, phenomenal play. Patty Fish in his home game. Matt McCarty and the Red Scare. He'll be scaring a lot of red numbers this week. I love Matt McCarty to play well again. Can Matt McCarty go back-to-back at this event the way he's playing and based on his course fit? Absolutely. Maverick McNeely, I'm a little bit cooler on him. Seamus Power. Cameron Champ. I love Cameron Champ as a deep sleeper in this event. Like, he played really well towards the end of the summer. played okay at this event last year. I like his middle and long iron play. Has his proximity numbers been sneaky, really good. That's like a great 150 to 1 bet this week. Cameron Champ. That's some gold right there, I think. Maybe not. He's Cameron Champ. But I love him. I'm going to play him. Joseph Bramlett, 15. I mean, you just see why I'm in absolute love with this event. Alex Noren, who's won 2 out of his last 4 events on the DP World Tour. And obviously, he could probably win this event with his putter alone, but I typically tend to favor the ball strikers. Griot is not a bad option. Stephen Fisk broke my heart at the Sanderson Farms. Was really hoping that Higo would have won that, but Stephen Fisk is playing some great golf. And then Davis Thompson, Stefan Jaeger, 19 and 20. The full model will be up on InsideSportsNetwork.com. We added a whole sheet where you can see the full model with all of the ranks 1 through 125 on InsideSports.com. But those are just the top 20. So I already have spoken about 3 guys that I really like: Rico H, Carson Young, Doug Gim. Smalley, I touched on as well, is probably a bet for me as well. Cam Champ, I'll probably take a chance on at 150 to 1. Other guys that I have some interest in, depending on the numbers: Thor, Kevin Roy, Matt McCarty, and Billy Katz. I want to give a quick shout out to Billy Katz as well. Billy Katz, so he didn't play this event last year. It's his first time playing the Black Desert, and he's coming off an 18th at the Bay Current, pretty solid, where he was neutral off the tee and gained 8.4 strokes on approach. So you have this huge spike approach performance at the Bay Current, was terrible around the green, lost 4 strokes around the green. That's the only reason why he wasn't contending. Obviously, we don't care about that at all. I'm not super concerned about around the green this week either. But he's been playing great recently. He won the ISCO. He finished 7th at the 3M Open, 38th at the Wyndham, and then the 18th at the Bay Current. So he started playing some great golf towards the end of last summer, and he's been a big ISN guy for us and Kyle, starting when he made that like 13th last year at the American Express, where he was like greenside and 2 on a par 5, and then took like 10 more strokes to get the ball in the hole. I think Billy Katz is somebody to watch out for this week. Just keep him on your radar. Anytime you have a guy that's showing that he can gain up to 8 strokes alone in a much better field than this on approach, that's a guy I'm probably looking to bet, or at least favor very heavily in DFS. And he's got a lot of putting upside as well. Like Billy Katz can putt. He's not like a lot of the other guys on my betting card where you're really hoping and wishing and praying on the putter. Billy Katz has gained over 6 strokes putting in 2 out of his last 4 starts. So I don't have a ton more on the Black D. I think that maybe my biggest disagree. I don't know what the narrative is going to be. I don't think anyone really is doing any course breakdown content really in the fall swing outside of this. So I'm not going to say I don't know what the predominant narrative would be, but what I would say is that I think if there's one takeaway, I think it's more of a middle iron and putting golf course than maybe the driver putter golf course. Just because I think when you have an 85% greens in regulation driving accuracy percentage, that just becomes really, really hard to separate off the tee. You can with your distance, but you're taking a lot of accuracy separation out of the equation. And it's so much is going to come down to the middle iron and long iron play. Even with the shorter players, like if you're probably going to hit the fairway if you're a short player with a lower dispersion pattern, and you can catch up to the longer guys easily if you're a great middle to long iron play. It's not that long of a golf course. So that is it for me. We've got 4 more fall swing events, including this. So if you want to sweat them and get a bunch more great fall swing info, and obviously we also have all of our other channels going with NFL and college football, DFS, basketball, all that stuff as well. We'd love to have you at InsideSportsNetwork.com. And good luck on, there's no golf today, but good luck on all your football bets. And I will see you back on this podcast later this week. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Cheers.